Karoline Leavitt stood composed at the witness table in the packed congressional hearing room, her tailored blue suit a stark contrast against the ornate wood paneling, her gaze steady as cameras captured every moment. Just seconds earlier, Congressman Adam Schiff had leaned into his microphone with a dismissive smile and declared, "Miss Leavitt, your youth and inexperience are showing. You clearly don't understand how national security oversight actually works." The condescending remark hung in the air as committee members shifted in their seats. Reporters frantically typed notes, and millions watched the live stream. But Leavitt, the 26-year-old former Trump White House assistant press secretary, didn't flinch as the room fell silent. Schiff, with his law degree and decades in Congress, was certain he had publicly diminished this young Republican spokesperson. But Leavitt, with a leather portfolio placed carefully before her, containing documents no one in the room knew existed, was about to transform this hostile hearing into a moment that would shake Washington to its core. This wasn't just another partisan congressional skirmish. It was Leavitt's opportunity to reveal what she had discovered during her White House tenure. Information that would turn Schiff's mockery into a political nightmare he never saw coming. Before we dive deeper into this explosive confrontation, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our latest coverage of the stories mainstream media refuses to tell you. Honestly, the tension in the House Intelligence Committee hearing room had been building all morning as the oversight session on information security protocols entered its third hour. The committee chamber hummed with the familiar Washington intensity. Staffers passing notes to representatives, journalists monitoring social media reactions, and camera operators capturing every facial expression for the evening news. At the witness table sat Karoline Leavitt, whose rapid rise in conservative politics had made her both admired and underestimated. At just 26, Leavitt had already served as an assistant press secretary in the Trump White House before becoming the communications director for Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Her youth, blonde hair, and camera-ready appearance led many Democrats to dismiss her as simply another telegenic conservative without substance, a serious miscalculation that several had already come to regret in previous public forums. Across from her, the Democratic side of the committee was led by Congressman Adam Schiff, the 62-year-old former prosecutor whose national profile had skyrocketed during the Trump impeachment hearings. Known for his methodical questioning and occasional theatrical flourishes, Schiff had mastered the art of creating media moments that advanced his narrative. With his wire-rimmed glasses and serious demeanor, he projected the image of a sober overseer of national security. The hearing had been called to examine information security practices following a controversial leak of classified documents. While not the primary witness, Leavitt had been invited by Republican members to speak about communication protocols during her White House tenure. What should have been a technical discussion had quickly evolved into partisan theater. "Ms. Leavitt," Schiff began, looking at her over his glasses, "you've made several claims about proper document handling procedures under the previous administration. Yet during that very administration, we saw unprecedented security breaches, including discussions of classified information at Mar-a-Lago. Do you really expect this committee to take lessons from an administration with such a problematic record?" The question wasn't just political. It was designed to diminish her credibility. By framing her as a defender of supposedly lax security practices, Schiff was attempting to position her as either naive or disingenuous. Either way, not a serious voice on national security matters. Committee Chairman Mike Turner intervened. "I'd remind members to focus on the security protocols rather than partisan attacks." Schiff responded smoothly. "I'm simply establishing the witness's expertise and perspective, Mr. Chairman." Leavitt took a sip of water, her expression revealing nothing as she carefully placed the glass down. The stakes were clear to everyone in the room. Her reputation and future prospects in Washington's hierarchy hung in the balance. For a young political operative still building her career, these high-profile exchanges could either elevate or diminish her standing in conservative circles. What no one realized was that Leavitt had anticipated this line of attack. During her White House tenure, she had been privy to security briefings that contained information directly relevant to Schiff's own handling of sensitive information. Briefings that had never been made public, but had been properly declassified just 3 days earlier through channels few knew existed. "Congressman Schiff," Leavitt began, her voice steady, "I appreciate your concern about proper handling of sensitive information. That's actually a subject I've researched extensively, including reviewing the handling of Intelligence Committee materials during the past 6 years. Schiff's expression flickered briefly, a momentary tell that only those who knew him well would recognize. He hadn't expected her to turn toward his own committee's practices. Ms. Leavitt, we're here to discuss the current security issues, not relitigate partisan grievances from the previous administration, he countered. This isn't about partisan grievances, Congressman, Leavitt replied, opening her portfolio. This is about consistent standards of information security that should apply to everyone entrusted with our nation's secrets. As she carefully removed a folder bearing classification markings that had been crossed out and stamped declassified, a subtle shift in energy rippled through the room. Committee members from both parties leaned forward, suddenly alert to the unexpected turn the hearing had taken. Mr. Chairman, Leavitt said, turning to Representative Turner, I've been authorized to share recently declassified information directly relevant to this committee's practices. Would now be an appropriate time. Turner, clearly not expecting this development, nodded cautiously. Proceed, Miss Leavitt. What Leavitt was about to reveal would transcend the typical partisan bickering that characterized most congressional hearings. The documents in her portfolio didn't just challenge Schiff's narrative. They threatened to undermine his carefully cultivated image as a responsible steward of intelligence information. As Karoline Leavitt began organizing the declassified documents before her, Congressman Schiff signaled to his staff director, who quickly approached the dais. The two exchanged whispered words while Leavitt calmly continued her preparations. Point of order, Mr. Chairman, Schiff interjected, his voice carrying an edge not present earlier. We have no verification of whatever documents the witness is presenting. The committee deserves to know the source and authorization for any supposedly declassified materials before they're discussed in an open hearing. Chairman Turner frowned. Miss Leavitt, can you clarify the nature and provenance of these documents? Certainly, Mr. Chairman, Leavitt responded without hesitation. What I'm presenting are materials declassified through a Directive 14 procedure by the current National Security Council 3 days ago. They include security logs, transmission records, and internal review findings related to intelligence handling procedures from 2019 through 2022. She held up a cover sheet bearing the official declassification stamps and authorization codes. A committee staffer approached to examine the documents, conferring quietly with the chairman. Turner's expression remained neutral, but he gripped his pen more tightly, a sign to those who knew him that he was surprised by the development. The committee will proceed, he announced after a moment. But I'll remind the witness that despite declassification, care should still be taken regarding operational details. The room grew quiet as Leavitt organized her presentation. Democratic staffers could be seen frantically typing on phones, presumably seeking verification or guidance from leadership. Congressman Schiff, Leavitt began, moments ago you questioned my understanding of security protocols while suggesting the previous administration was careless with classified information. However, these documents reveal a troubling pattern that directly contradicts your public positions. She held up the first document. This is a security log from May 2020 documenting a significant security violation involving the transfer of sensitive compartmented information outside approved channels. According to the investigation findings, classified material from a closed Intelligence Committee session was transmitted to unauthorized recipients. Schiff's face remained composed, but his knuckles whitened as he gripped his microphone. Ms. Leavitt, without seeing these supposed documents, I can't address vague allegations, but I categorically reject any implication of improper handling of classified information by this committee under my leadership. I understand your concern, Congressman, Leavitt replied, sliding the document into a projector that displayed it on the large screen behind her, with certain sections redacted but key headers and dates clearly visible. That's why I'm providing concrete evidence rather than allegations. The projected document showed official security review letterhead with Schiff's name clearly referenced in the individuals involved section. Gasps and murmurs spread through the committee room. This security review, Leavitt continued, documented that talking points containing classified signal intelligence were transmitted from your committee office to 3 media contacts in direct violation of Section 3.2 of the committee's own security protocols. The subsequent investigation found that these disclosures necessitated the modification of active intelligence collection operations at significant cost to national security. Republicans on the committee were now leaning forward intently, while several Democratic members whispered urgently to each other. Schiff's legislative director was frantically writing notes and passing them to him. "Ms. Leavitt," Schiff responded, his voice now tight with controlled anger. "You're clearly participating in a coordinated political attack using selectively edited materials. These documents lack context and proper authentication." Leavitt remained unfazed. "Congressman, every document I'm presenting has been properly declassified and authenticated by the current administration's officials. Officials you yourself have repeatedly praised as responsible stewards of our intelligence community. If you question their authenticity, you're welcome to take that up with your colleagues at the NSC who authorized their release." She turned to the second document. This security assessment from December 2021 is even more concerning. It details how classified information regarding human intelligence sources in Eastern Europe was compromised following an unsecured conversation in a congressional office. The report specifically notes that details matching the compromised intelligence appeared in a Washington Post article the following week attributed to sources familiar with the committee's work. The committee room had grown unusually quiet. The typical background noise of whispers and typing replaced by tense silence. Even staffers along the wall had stopped their usual multitasking to focus on the unfolding situation. Representative Darren LaHood, a Republican from Illinois, spoke up. "Ms. Leavitt, just to clarify, these security incidents occurred under the current committee leadership, and they were documented by our intelligence agencies, but never disclosed to the American people or even to committee members like myself." "That's correct, Congressman," Leavitt confirmed. "These security reviews were conducted by career officials, not political appointees. They documented multiple violations between 2019 and 2022. Yet no public accountability followed. In fact, she displayed a third document. This internal communication shows that certain committee leaders were exempted from the standard security violation procedures that would apply to other government officials." Schiff, now visibly agitated, interrupted. "Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous. The witness is selectively presenting classified material in a manner designed to mislead." "With respect, Congressman," Leavitt interjected firmly, "nothing I'm showing is currently classified. Every document has been properly declassified following all legal procedures, and rather than misleading, I'm simply letting the intelligence community's own findings speak for themselves." The tension in the room had reached unprecedented levels. Chairman Turner, recognizing the explosive nature of what was unfolding, attempted to maintain order. "The committee will take a 15-minute recess to review these materials. Members are instructed not to discuss these matters outside this room until we reconvene." As representatives filed out, reporters in the gallery rushed to file preliminary stories, though the specifics of the documents were not yet public beyond those in the room. What had begun as Schiff's attempt to diminish a young conservative spokesperson had escalated into potentially the most significant intelligence oversight controversy since the Church Committee investigations. In the hallway outside, members could be overheard engaging in heated discussions. "Did you know about these security reviews?" one Democratic congressman demanded of a colleague. "This is the first I'm hearing of any of this," came the tense reply. As the recess clock ticked down, Leavitt remained at the witness table, reviewing her notes with the same composure she had maintained throughout. Unlike many witnesses who appeared nervous during breaks, she showed the confident patience of someone who knew the strongest evidence was yet to come. When the committee reconvened after the tense 15-minute recess, the atmosphere had transformed dramatically. Where before there had been the typical partisan posturing, now there was a palpable sense of gravity. Several Democratic members who had been present earlier were noticeably absent, while additional Republican members had filed in, alerted to the unfolding situation. Chairman Turner called the session to order with uncharacteristic solemnity. "The committee will come to order." During the recess, committee leadership has confirmed the authenticity of the declassified documents presented by Ms. Leavitt. "I want to emphasize that this hearing is not the appropriate forum for a comprehensive review of these materials, which will require a separate dedicated session." He turned toward Schiff. "Ranking Member Schiff has requested 5 minutes to respond to the information presented." Schiff approached his microphone, his typical fluid confidence replaced by a rigid formality. "Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What we're witnessing today is a shameful partisan exercise. While I cannot discuss specifics of intelligence matters in this open setting, I categorically reject any implication of improper handling of classified information." His voice took on a practiced indignation. These documents have been cherry-picked and presented without critical context. Every action I have taken as committee chairman and ranking member has been in accordance with proper procedures and in service of national security. This transparent attempt to distract from the serious matters before us. Point of order, Mr. Chairman, interrupted Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, her voice sharp. The ranking member is attacking the witness rather than addressing the substance of the declassified documents, which we have now confirmed are authentic. Turner nodded. I would remind all members to focus on the substance of the information presented. Schiff's jaw tightened visibly. Mr. Chairman, my point is that documents without proper context can create a misleading impression. I stand by my record of protecting classified information throughout my tenure. As Schiff concluded his response, notably without addressing any specific allegations, Turner turned back to Leavitt. Miss Leavitt, you indicated you have additional information relevant to this matter. Here was the moment of truth. Leavitt had presented compelling evidence, but Schiff's defense strategy was clear. Dismiss everything as partisan and lacking context. Her next move would determine whether this became a footnote in Washington's endless partisan battles or something far more consequential. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Leavitt began, her voice steady. I want to address Congressman Schiff's concern about context directly. She retrieved a final document from her portfolio, thicker than the previous ones. What I'm presenting now isn't a single incident or security review, but a comprehensive pattern analysis conducted by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence at the request of the National Security Council. This report, now declassified, examined all documented security incidents across congressional committees handling classified information from 2018 through 2022. She placed the document in the projector, displaying a graph with committee names across the bottom and incident tallies represented by bars of varying heights. One bar towered above all others. This analysis found 27 documented security violations under Congressman Schiff's leadership, more than 3 times the number of the next highest committee. The report specifically notes that 14 of these incidents involved the unauthorized disclosure of information to media sources in patterns that, and I'm quoting directly, indicate a systematic rather than inadvertent approach to utilizing classified information for narrative-shaping purposes outside official channels. The room fell completely silent. The data visualization told a story that no amount of procedural objections or claims of partisan motivation could easily dismiss. Most critically, Leavitt continued, turning to a page with a timeline chart, the analysis correlates these security violations with public statements by committee leadership. In 11 documented cases, Congressman Schiff made public claims directly supported by classified information that had been improperly disclosed to journalists within the previous 72 hours. She looked directly at Schiff, whose face had gone pale. This isn't about a single incident taken out of context, Congressman. This is about a documented pattern identified by career intelligence professionals across multiple agencies. Leavitt then revealed the most damaging evidence of all. The report includes a particularly concerning finding regarding a September 2020 incident following a closed intelligence briefing on foreign influence operations. Classified signals intelligence was leaked to the press in a manner that, according to the NSA's damage assessment, compromised technical collection methods and necessitated the abandonment of an ongoing counterintelligence operation. She displayed a redacted but still legible internal communication. This email from the NSA director to the DNI refers specifically to Congressman Schiff by name, expressing grave concern over the repeated compromise of sensitive collection platforms following restricted briefings to the HPSCI chairman. The evidence was devastating in its specificity and scope. This wasn't a partisan attack, but a documented pattern established by the intelligence community itself, now properly declassified and brought to light. Chairman Turner, recognizing the historic significance of what was unfolding, spoke with careful precision. The committee will need time to thoroughly review these materials and determine appropriate next steps, which may include a formal committee investigation into the handling of classified information. Schiff, now visibly shaken, attempted one final deflection. Mr. Chairman, I request these materials be removed from public display until a full review of their declassification status can be conducted by the intelligence community. It was a desperate procedural maneuver, and Leavitt was prepared. Congressman, I have here the signed declassification authorization from the current Director of National Intelligence, appointed by President Biden and confirmed by a Democratic-controlled Senate. She held up the document with its unmistakable seal. These materials have been properly declassified following every applicable procedure. The American people have a right to know when their trust has been violated, regardless of party. The moment represented a complete reversal from the hearing's beginning. What had started with Schiff attempting to diminish Leavitt as young and inexperienced had transformed into Leavitt exposing one of Washington's most powerful figures with methodical, documented evidence that couldn't be dismissed as partisan. In the press gallery, reporters were already racing to file updated stories, recognizing they were witnessing a watershed moment in congressional oversight history. What they had expected to be a routine hearing had transformed into one of the most consequential revelations about intelligence handling since the Pentagon Papers. The fallout from what the media quickly dubbed the Leavitt revelation spread through Washington with the speed and force of a political tsunami. Within hours, the shocking exposed pattern of security violations dominated headlines across the political spectrum, forcing even traditionally Democratic-friendly outlets to cover the revelations extensively. Schiff exposed, classified intel repeatedly compromised according to declassified reports, read the banner headline on Fox News, while CNN more cautiously reported classified documents raise questions about Intelligence Committee security protocols. Even the Washington Post, which had been implicated in the revelations as a recipient of leaked classified information, ran a front-page story. Declassified reports allege pattern of security violations under Schiff's leadership. On Capitol Hill, the immediate political ramifications unfolded with dramatic speed. By evening, Speaker Mike Johnson had announced the formation of a special investigative committee to examine the security violations detailed in the declassified documents. In a significant move, he appointed members from both parties known for their seriousness on national security matters rather than partisan firebrands. The American people deserve to know that those entrusted with our nation's most sensitive secrets are handling them with appropriate care, Johnson stated from the Capitol steps. These allegations transcend partisan politics and go to the heart of our national security. The Democratic leadership response was notably fractured. While Minority Leader Hakey Jeff initially attempted to dismiss the revelations as a partisan stunt designed to distract from policy failures, his position quickly became untenable as more Democratic members reviewed the declassified materials themselves. By the following morning, 7 Democratic representatives, primarily those with military or intelligence backgrounds, had issued a joint statement calling for a thorough, fair, and expeditious investigation into these serious allegations. Regardless of where that investigation may lead, for Schiff personally, the consequences were swift and severe. Major donors began distancing themselves from his Senate campaign in California. 3 senior staffers submitted their resignations within 24 hours. Most significantly, the House Ethics Committee announced a preliminary inquiry into whether his handling of classified information violated House rules or federal law. The intelligence community's reaction was perhaps most damaging of all. In an unprecedented move, the current Director of National Intelligence issued a formal statement confirming the authenticity of the declassified reports and announcing a comprehensive review of how classified information is shared with congressional committees. While congressional oversight of intelligence activities is essential in our democracy, the statement read, "Equally essential is the responsible handling of the sensitive information shared during that oversight process." The pattern documented in these reports, if accurate, represents a serious breach of that responsibility. Media analysis quickly focused on Karoline Leavitt's methodical presentation and unflappable demeanor throughout the explosive hearing. Political veterans from both parties acknowledged her exceptional preparation and strategic discipline in revealing the information. "What we witnessed wasn't a young spokesperson getting lucky with a political attack," said former White House Communications Director Jen Psaki on MSNBC. "This was a masterclass in preparation, timing, and execution." Leavitt came with receipts, anticipated every counterargument, and never lost her composure, even when revealing information that she knew would create a political earthquake. Conservative media elevated Leavitt to hero status almost overnight. Her social media following increased by over 500,000 within 48 hours. Speaking requests from conservative organizations flooded in. Former President Trump himself called her a brave patriot who exposed the truth about intelligence manipulation that my administration always knew was happening. For her part, Leavitt maintained remarkable discipline in her public comments, refusing to gloat or use the moment for partisan attacks. In her only formal statement delivered via press release rather than a media appearance, she wrote, "This was never about politics. It was about accountability and consistent standards. When those entrusted with our nation's secrets use them for political purposes, they betray the public trust regardless of party. I hope these revelations lead to meaningful reforms in how Congress handles classified information." The broader impact on Washington's political culture began emerging within weeks. Congressional committees handling sensitive information implemented stricter protocols and penalties for violations. Several representatives with spotty security records quietly removed themselves from intelligence committees rather than face increased scrutiny. Perhaps most significantly, a bipartisan group of House members introduced legislation strengthening whistleblower protections for intelligence officials who report improper handling of classified information by elected officials, a category previously excluded from many whistleblower protection laws. 3 months after the hearing, a comprehensive report from the Special Investigative Committee confirmed the core allegations presented by Leavitt while providing additional context and recommendations. The report, approved by an 11-2 vote that included 3 Democrats, found a persistent pattern of selective disclosures of classified information to shape public narratives in ways that compromised intelligence sources and methods. For Schiff, the long-term damage proved irreparable. While he avoided criminal charges, largely due to speech or debate clause protections for members of Congress, his political standing never recovered. His Senate campaign suspended operations as polling showed him falling to 3rd place in California's jungle primary. Major committees became reluctant to place him in positions involving classified information access. 6 months after the hearing, Leavitt was appointed as the communications director for a leading presidential campaign, catapulting her into the highest echelons of political operations at just 27. Political observers across the spectrum recognized that her handling of the Schiff revelations had demonstrated rare political talents that transcended her youth. In a feature profile titled Washington's New Generation, Time magazine captured the lasting significance of the confrontation. What began as an attempt by a veteran politician to dismiss a young woman as naive and inexperienced transformed into a moment that exposed the complacency and hypocrisy that often infects Washington's power structures. In revealing Schiff's documented pattern of security violations, Leavitt did more than win a political skirmish. She demonstrated that accountability can come from unexpected sources, particularly when underestimation leads the powerful to believe they are beyond scrutiny. The profile concluded with a quote from a senior intelligence official who had been involved in the original security reviews. The irony is that if Congressman Schiff hadn't attempted to publicly diminish Miss Leavitt that day, these revelations might never have come to light. His condescension created the perfect opportunity for her to reveal what she knew. It's a powerful reminder that in Washington, arrogance often precedes downfall, and those dismissed as inexperienced may be the very ones who have done their homework most thoroughly. As Washington adjusted to this new reality, congressional hearings took on a more sober tone with members increasingly aware that performative grandstanding might invite unexpected consequences from witnesses they underestimated. The era of treating young staffers and operatives as easy targets for public diminishment had ended. A lasting legacy of the day Adam Schiff tried to mock Karoline Leavitt and received a bombshell revelation in return. Thank you for watching this explosive story about accountability at the highest levels of government. If you found this coverage valuable, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more well-researched stories that mainstream sources won't tell you. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on the importance of holding our elected officials to the same standards they demand of others.